Oh, there we go. Bloop, bloop. What is going on here?
I don't know.
Quiet, Owen. There we go. Owen was making a racket in my ears. I don't know if you could hear that.
It's a bit annoying, really.
Yeah. So, all right. We'll get a look, see if anyone's watching.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody, are you watching yet? I can't
Here
tell.
we go,
Oh, we've got a
Chris.
few people on Facebook.
Hey, I brought a box for you.
There we go. Oh. There we go. Oh, we got a few people. We got someone on YouTube. We got a handful on Facebook watching. I just turned Instagram on.
That's good.
So sorry to disappoint everybody who thought maybe Naoto would be doing this again, but you're stuck with me.
Well, let's hope Naoto wasn't so good that they hate us now.
Yeah.
Or let's hope that Naoto wasn't so bad that they nobody comes.
Yeah.
That's always the fear.
Oh, hey, Owen says, hey, Owen, you're on my Instagram. Well, Owen, when I turned on the Zoom thing, your voice was screaming in my ears somehow because of YouTube, and I don't know how to use a computer. So that's what Japanese Knife 101 is, really, is me not knowing how to use a computer.
Chris, how was your holiday?
It was good. I didn't really do too much. I just kind of hung around the house, to be honest. Had a few chores that needed doing, and did some motorcycling and did some barbecuing. So, yeah, it was a fun time. It didn't go crazy, but good time.
How far did you motorbike?
I did a couple of long rides. I went from Ottawa to Cornwall one day, got caught in a terrible amount of rain. And yeah, where else did I go? Just kind of booting around whenever I could get out of the house without having a kid attached to me.
No, I went to Cypress Hills. Cypress Hills is an interesting place. It was during the last ice age or the end of the ice age, I guess.
Okay.
When all the glaciers left, there was a huge lake or possibly ocean where all the prairies were. That's why it's so flat. But Cypress Hills was like a mountain there. So we were there on a mountain range in the middle of the prairies. It's a really strange place.
So we're doing things a little bit different today. We are going to talk about knives.
Oh,
we are going to, Kevin and I we're back at it. So I know Mike and Naoto took care of this. I think Nathan did too while we were gone. So today we were planning on talking about smaller knives, petties in particular, but I've got a bunch of other stuff here. So if you have any questions, by all means, I'm going to urge everyone who's watching on Instagram, because we find the pictures a lot better for the split screen. If you want, go to our YouTube page or our Facebook page, and you can see Kevin and I talking on Zoom. So the YouTube is easy to get to. It's just knifeware.com/YouTube, and you'll see a little live video popped up on the top. So by all means, if you want to just look at me in big format, you're more than welcome to. But I'll pay attention to your questions there. But it's probably a little bit better over on YouTube and Facebook. So. But if we're going to talk about, I don't know, what else should we talk? Should we, instead of just jumping right in?
Tell everybody what's going on. Knife War 101, or Japanese Knife 101. We answer questions. We talk about, today we're going to talk about petties. I think we're going to talk about caring for petties, how to choose a petty. What is a petty? And why you'd want one, or what is the reasonable number of petties to own? Yeah,
I find petties are one of those knives that I tend to, it's an easy knife to treat yourself to, because they don't take up as much room and they don't cost as much as a bigger knife.
No.
So it's an easy one to just kind of sneak an extra one home here or there. So so today we're going to talk about petties. A bunch of people just joined on Instagram. If you want, we've kind of shifted over to Facebook and YouTube. We're doing it on YouTube Live as well. The sound and video is a little bit better. So if you want to go over that route, if you want to hear both of us, otherwise sometimes you're just going to see me staring at a screen and talking to Kevin. So, but yeah, I find petties are they're a really, really versatile knife. They kind of You can use a petty for almost anything. And I know, so there's different sizes. I don't know, there's a ton of stuff to keep in mind when you're trying to choose a petty. But I think one of the kind of the base note of what a petty is they're a smaller knife, right?
Smart enough. Right down from what we call a paring knife, right? That's maybe kind of 90 to 120 millimeters long. And then anything that's kind of over 120 up to about 150 or 60 is what we call a petty knife, or a paring knife, or a petty knife. But I even consider little guys like this. Like, this is a Kobunka from Takeda.
Yeah, I grab stuff like that too.
And I would consider that a petty knife as well.
Yeah.
Right, because it's little.
Yeah, it is kind of.
And I know that on our website, I think we make a distinction. We say anything about over kind of 150, we call it a utility knife. Probably a good way.
A lot of people do.
Because you couldn't really well, I think you get a lot of utility from a knife like this. But I also think that you couldn't really do like in the hand paring or like peeling a potato, something like that with something this big. Mm-hmm. It'd be quite difficult, I think.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, like I find, like I would usually, like a 150 petty would be my choice for a lot of butchery. Like I remember my very first day working at Knifeware, someone came in looking for a boning knife. And I'm like, well, have you thought about one of these? And I think it was like a Moritaka 150 because it's a knife that I have. And it's just kind of, when you've spent your whole life in a kitchen and then you stick yourself in a store, you don't have a lot to I didn't have a very deep well to draw on. So I went to what I knew, and that's what I always use,
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to talk about petties today. If you've got any questions, shout them out. I see Don Penny has said, I don't understand. Is there an unreasonable number of knives to own? And he's got it right. Bike riders talk about it all the time. They say the number of bikes to own is N plus 1, where N is the number of bikes you have currently plus 1. And I think I've operated the same with knives and records as well.
Yeah. Well, and I find it, it's kind of, Minority Report on Instagram is saying petties are great. He's always got 2 in his knife roll. And it's, because there's things that you could do with a 150 that you might not, you might not reach for that 100 mil one or that 90 mil one, And it also depends. I find when I'm helping pick out a petty, I might make a different recommendation based on what size of chef's knife they use all the time.
Maybe.
Like if someone was going for more of a minimal approach,
Now,
which they're crazy.
Here's a question for you. What perfect set of knives? Let's say you a set of knives you're going to take to a restaurant.
Okay.
What are you going to have? What is going to be your petty complement? What's going to be your petty situation? And what are you going to do with them? I would definitely have. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, so are we just saying like the petty knives I would bring to work, or all the knives I would bring to work?
Well, let's just talk about the petties. What petties would you have, and why would you have those ones?
Well, I'll tell you what, I would have. I've got a couple here, and I don't know, this might make me seem outrageous. I don't know. But I think these are like the 3 major, like when Kevin was breaking down the different categories of size, I would say that you got this guy, it's like an 80 mil. Even a lot of the blacksmiths or any of the knife makers will make like a 75 to an 80 mil, maybe even a 90 millimeter petty. So this one's a Haruyuki Kuma. So it's one of the SRS 15 stainless steel. It's a really wicked knife. We just got this one in today. We got a bunch of stuff in, so this is a lot of fun.
That's the first knife I bought. Except I bought the Santoku with that. And a Western handle. But that knife built Knifeware, essentially.
Yeah, well, I can grab that one. That's easy. That's right here. Before we get too distracted. That's
I bought that knife.
This is the knife that started Knifeware.
I bought that knife in 1999, and it blew my mind apart. I couldn't believe that a knife could be that sharp or stay that sharp.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, no,
That's
I've
it.
got a 210 and I've had it for like 3 years, and I need to sharpen it now because it snags on a tomato. Not that it's useless, but it's just not as good as it used to be. But I find a knife
Awesome.
this size is is good for any of the in-hand kind of stuff. Like if I was peeling a potato, or like my mom always like peels all of her vegetables by hand. Like she doesn't use a vegetable peeler. So something small like that, I think, is good for any of those in-hand jobs. Segmenting an orange, peeling a potato. I don't know, Mike. What's something you would do with a 90 mil petty?
I think I got garlic.
Oh, garlic. Trimming up the ends off garlic.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything where you might be tempted to push the blade towards your thumb. Like that's what paring is. I don't know if anyone knows that, but that's like that word actually means something. It's not about the knife. Yeah, Minority Report says carrots. Yeah, like baby carrots, like trimming up the tops, cleaning them up. That's a really good, anything that you're working in hand. This is the size of knife you want. There's a couple good questions over on YouTube, Kevin. Well, Iggy is saying that the Moritaka Kokiritsuke that he discovered and picked up thanks to one of our videos has become his favorite knife ever. And that's a good choice. It's an awesome knife. It's an awesome knife. But then Mag is asking, is thin good for a petty, or do you want a thicker petty?
Well,
I think that depends on what you're doing.
see, this is what I wanted to get into that later and say that I think that I've got room in my bag for a thin 150 and a fatter 150.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't think about this. It was Shibata-san and Kato-san that turned me on to this idea, because they were saying they always wanted to make their petties thicker and almost like a hunting knife. Because Kato-san says, he says, I watch my wife, and he says, and I see the knives that come back that are damaged, and it's usually petties because people think a petty is a screwdriver. They think that it's a pry bar. They think that it's something to, take into the bathroom to dig the grout out with. Yeah. He said a petty, if something's going to get used badly, he said it's a petty that's going to be used badly. So make them with a more robust edge, like make the spine fatter. But then you look at this. This is a Denka from Fujiwara.
Oh, it's like,
and that is just like paper thin.
Yeah, there's nothing to it. Yeah.
But you know what? I think he was right, though, in a lot of ways, that you should have maybe two petties, like a rugged one for bad ideas, or when guests come over, or when your coworker wants to borrow one, and then a thinner one for things that are different, like where you really want that thin slice of garlic, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. I also find, I'm just going to throw out, because a couple people joined on Instagram. If you want the, come check it out on our, we're doing this live on YouTube and Facebook as well right now, where you can see Kevin and I talking. The audio and the videos is quite a bit better over that way. So it's easy enough to get to. It's just knifeware.com/YouTube. If you're up to it. If you just want to listen to what I have to say, you're more than welcome to stay put on Instagram. But
you'll miss my beautiful COVID. You'll miss my beautiful COVID haircut.
You'll miss Kevin's
and
haircut. It looks
my really gray beard.
I got one good one. There's one good one in here that keeps poking out.
I don't think I have any that have color in them anymore, hardly on the cheeks. That's what you guys have done to me during COVID. Anyway,
my fault,
what are you thinking about? Like, okay, back to you. What petties would you have? Do you think a bird's beak is a petty?
I have some bird's beaks here.
Kawamuki Bocho is a petty? Do you think that's
I would say, you know what? My kind of horizon broadened quite a bit when there was a chef here in town, was it Ross or Simon Fraser? I can't remember. It was Simon, I think. Came in and he saw that Takeda made those kogatanas. And it was before we carried them with any regularity. And he said, I want one of these. Can you get it for me? And we got it in, and he wanted to use it as a petty. Now, a kogatana, I don't have one here, is just imagine this blade, but with a straight bar of steel back here. And a lot of the time they're used as a craft knife or more of like kind of a wood shop, like a shop knife. Like they're meant to be pretty beefy. But he wanted it as a paring knife. Now that would be a good example of a thicker paring knife. At least those ones that you always get the odd, like real thin one, because Takeda is a bit of a wild card that way. But it's a beefy, like it's got a lot of meat behind the edge. So that'd be a really good example of one of those thicker petty knives. But Kevin, I would go, like if it was my knife kit, I'm similar to you. I would have something small, 75 to 90 for all my in-hand jobs. I'd have a 120 that I would probably use for more veg prep. And then I'd have a 150, a thin 150 that I would use for butchery. And a 150 also does a really good job at like a line. Like, so when I worked at the Wellington Gastropub and we did like steaks or whatever, like we carved a lot of meat there, but I only had this tiny little station to work on. So I did most of the carving with a 150 petty. Like it's perfect for like, because we do duck like every Monday, you know? So.
We do a roast chicken probably weekly or sometimes poached, but there's a whole chicken cooked in my house every week. And I've got a 150. In fact, I've got, no, I don't
think
have,
we've got
here it
the
is.
same knife.
Well.
No, not that one. I don't have that one. Kevin is, for those on Instagram, Kevin is showing off a Denka 150 petty with a very beautiful curved antler handle.
Yeah, I love it. We got it for a garage sale once, and after a week, nobody bought it. So I accidentally told Chris in Edmonton to throw it in a box and mail it to my house.
Yeah.
I love this knife so much.
We got a couple.
I think we got a couple questions. It's so strange.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've got a couple good questions on Instagram right now. Iggy is saying, what about a thin 150 petty and a thicker 150 Hanasuki to cover most instances? I think that's a good idea. Like that would, a 150, like a Hanasuki, you know what? Like we could argue that it's in that petty category and it's definitely a little beefier. Like it would be good for those jobs. I think Kevin might have scurried off to go get one. I don't know. Or he's putting the knife back. I can't.
I didn't. I scurried off to stop the avalanche of sound in my house.
Yes, children. And then Mag is asking us about what are some petty knives that are good, like what are some popular, like good selling petty knives? I've got a few here, I'll show you. And then Don says, what's a bird's beak petty for? So I want to talk about that for a second, and then I'll show you a few knives. A bird's beak is often called a turning knife as well. Okay, so if you're looking at them, I'll just show Instagram real quick for those sticking around. But then, so that's a bird's beak knife. Okay, I've got one here made by Shun, and then I've got one here made by Tojiro. And Tojiro, they're both made out of VG10. They're both very similar as far as performance goes. But the thing to keep in mind.
Sorry.
Yeah. So someone is a Minority Report saying it's good for mushrooms. Yeah, like if you're fluting mushroom, I can't do that. Like any of that stuff, like turning carrots, and I should know how to do it. Kevin can probably flute a mushroom.
I can flute a mushroom. I sometimes use this knife to flute mushrooms.
What knife is that? Do I have that?
This is an old Susan.
No. Oh,
360 millimeter Gyuto.
Oh, yeah. Kevin's got a 360 millimeter Gyuto.
But I've used it to flute mushrooms. You just have to choke up on the knife a little bit like this.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've never had to really do that as a job,
I worked at a golf course briefly. Out in the mountains, and we fluted
this is a really good. I've actually purchased a lot of these, not for myself, but as gifts for family members, because all the newfies in my family like to use these. Like they will not use a vegetable peeler. It's always, peeling potatoes by hand.
I love a vegetable peeler.
I know. It's heaven forbid you do it faster and waste less potato, but what do I know? But this.
Now, I know you don't care, Chris, but it's 2-0 for Calgary over Dallas right now.
Kevin's watching hockey while he's doing this. So
I'm cheating. I'm doing a lot of things.
Who are concerned. For those of you concerned on Instagram, it is now 2-0 for Calgary.
2-0
is what Kevin just told me. So that's hockey. That's the one with the ice skates.
Yeah, and I believe it was Dylan Dubé got both of them.
Yeah. Oh, you know what, Kevin? I haven't told you this yet. You don't know anything about this, but look at this Look at this new tattoo I got.
TNT dice.
Isn't
I
that
love
good?
it. Do you know those are permanent?
Yeah, I know. But at this point, there's no turning back.
They're permanent, right? You can't get them
Oh.
off.
No, that I don't know if I'd pick that one to be the first one to try to scrub off too. So,
I bet it's tender.
oh yeah. So Don says he has a couple of these bird speak petties from the past sets, but he doesn't know if he's ever used them. You know what? They're good for the peeling. You know, you're not gonna. They're not the best to work on the board with because of the curve of the blade. You know, like imagine my hand's the cutting board, right? Like there's a big scoop there, so they're a bit of a pain in the ass that way. But if you're working in hand, they're pretty good.
In hand.
All those jobs that we were talking about before, where you're kind of thumbing through.
Or as you called them earlier,
You know
Chris,
what?
you called them in-hand jobs.
In hand jobs. I've chosen that term very carefully. So, and then Mag was asking about popular options, and I think I've got two of the most popular here in the shop right now.
Oh, I thought you were going to grab one of the Goma or the Mookie as well.
I could just run over and grab one.
Because then
But
you get something with a different
I figured-
handle too, and you get something that's all stainless.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's a
paying
good
the butt.
idea. Well, here, why don't I'll stand this up here?
Well,
There
that
it is.
is
You talk about a Koichi for a
that's the
second.
Masakage Koishi. Now, that Koishi line, ever since we got it in the shops, it's been like the 210 millimeter Gyuto of the Masakage Koishi has been a #1 selling knife now for 4 years, 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. It's been madness.
Yeah,
We just
well,
can't keep it in stock. And that's the petty for it, and that's the petty that matches. I reckon if you had that little petty from the Koishi, what is that, a 120 it looks like, and a
that's a
210,
120. Yeah.
and you had a 210 Gyuto from the Koishi and a slicer and an Akiri, you could own the world, I reckon.
Yeah,
Like,
I'd say
that'd
the
be-
Nakiri is
that'd be the-
creeping up on it for bestseller.
Sorry?
I say the Nakiri. Now I haven't looked at any numbers or anything because I'm purely anecdotal on most things I decide. But I would say the Koichi Nakiri is creeping up on it. Like, we can never keep them in Ottawa, anyways. So, but this is one that Kevin was talking about, the Haruki Goma. So this is a VG10 stainless steel, very easy to take care of. Looks real pretty too. It's got a nice Tsuchime pattern. That's the dimpling on it. And then some nice
that's a beauty.
Suminagashi, which is the layered steel. Yeah, that's often referred to as Damascus. It's, both are correct. But if you were Japanese, you would say, well, you probably say Damascus these days because everyone knows what you're talking about. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's got a
Well,
Western
black
handle, so
handle
if that's
says
more your
Damascus.
speed. Yeah. I only know the word Suminagashi because you told me it when I first started.
Ah, well, it's a nice
So-
guy in that way. So why would you want that
So-
knife? I know why I want that knife. I think that's a great gift knife. I think it's
Yep.
an excellent knife when you're trying to get into stuff. The price on that's got to be about
It's only
99 bucks.
139. 139 for
139.
this guy. Yeah. So Minority
And-
Report, that's 139 for that guy.
It's all stainless. It looks crazy good. You give someone that as a gift, and you're going to win the gift giving for the season.
Oh,
'cause
for
you're
sure.
gonna just look like a hero.
I think I handed out a few of these at Christmas time this year. I had a couple knives to buy. So yeah, no, they're great. And what I like about a 120 petty is that I am very comfortable. I can still choke up on this knife and use it for all those smaller jobs, So, well, Minority Report, this one, just look up Goma on our website, Goma. It's the 135 millimeter petty. And there's a few of them kicking around, so you'll be able to order one. Easy stuff. Easy peasy. A 120 petty. Well, if you've got a 120 petty, a 135 can be very tempting. But another one of the first ones that I grabbed there to show Mag was the Fujimoto Nishiji. So this one is a really good, it's a great price for starters, but it's also like stupid sharp. It looks cool. It's made with blue carbon steel. but they do put like that layer of stainless on the outside. That's what, if you ever hear people use the word cladding, that's what they're referring to. Like, don't, like, there can be a lot of like knife jargon and it can be really scary and whatnot, but it doesn't have to be. If I say cladding, what I mean is that they've just taken a layer of something else and stuck it on the outside. And when they do that, they've got various reasons for it. The main reason is that if you just had a knife made out of ultra hard carbon steel, it would be very, very brittle and break very easily. So they put something softer on the outside. Now, when we talk about hardness of steel, it can kind of be hard to wrap your brain around because it's all steel, right? Like, you get hit with a steel bat, it's going to hurt. If you change a different type of steel, does it hurt less? No. So, but when you're talking about steel relative to one another, there is a difference. And so if you put a softer steel outside of a harder steel, it serves as a bit of a cushion. So things don't break as easily. Now, what they start, and I had done a little bit of reading over the weekend because I had to make a video about Fujiwara. And in the 70s, Fujiwara and his father started putting stainless steel on the outside of carbon steel because carbon steel, for some people, can be harder to take care of. You got to make sure you're keeping it dry because it can rust. It's going to develop a patina. Like, it's going to change color even if you're doing everything right. So some people don't like that. So you put stainless on the outside and it cuts down on the amount of exposed carbon. It cuts down on the amount of knife that requires babying. So then you're just looking at this part down here as opposed to all this up here. Okay. So we just had a bunch of people join us again on Instagram. If you're watching on Instagram, just zip over to YouTube or Facebook, knifeware.com/YouTube. You'll see a little live video going on. You can see Kevin and I chatting.
Hi.
It's a little bit easier that way. The video is a bit better and the audio is a lot better. Yeah, it doesn't crack and kick us out and all that crap anymore. So, but if you like looking at me and my receding hairline, you're more than welcome to hang out on Instagram. So, but then I grabbed this, Kevin, which is a crazy. Owen just says he'll do what he wants. So, but
He's very
sometimes you'll get a petty that is outrageously large. Okay. So this is a 180 millimeter petty from Tojiro. I would argue that this is a baby Tsujihiki, not a giant petty. So
yeah, but still, what a great maneuver. A 180 petty for a chef, especially for service, is great.
Yeah, this would be that would be a great knife for those duck breasts I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So
listen, you could cut all the tomato salads you need during service with that and all the shallots.
Yeah.
You know, but also slice the duck breast or cut the pigeon off the bone after you'd roasted it. I probably not in this country, huh? I served a lot of pigeon when I worked in England, but not so much here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you don't get as much. Well, you wouldn't call it pigeon.
You can cut the lobs, you can cut your lamb chops with that, the whole bit. Like, you could do everything with that during service as a chef. I love the idea.
Yeah, that'd be a great.
Minority Report says that's a station knife for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But Minority Report also said, "Can I show you my knives?"
Yeah, we could throw him on if you're. Well, he's there. I'll put you on.
He's on Instagram, and he said, "Can I show you my two knives?"
Yeah. Yeah, well, there. I'll let you join. Now I've got like a microphone in, so I won't be able to hear you. I'll pull it out, but it's only you and me will be talking because all the other Facebook people won't be able to hear you. But you're more than welcome. Yeah, come on in. There we go. Here, I'll pull that microphone out. Hopefully it doesn't screw everything up too bad. Hey, man.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, what do you got?
Well, I'm kind of a pasta mode, man. You know, but yeah, these all been in
Oh, wow.
for a while, so I just I got this Dapper here.
Okay.
And
Is there a way to turn him around so we can see?
That's going on? Can you see it?
Yes. Yeah.
And I like to, what's great about this knife, I can use it as a depth, but like, let's say I'm doing something like a macro.
Yep. Yep.
But I can also do fine brunoise with this, and it's great. It gives me that flat surface as a yogo, but I also I can choke up on this.
Yeah. My assistant manager, like when he and I worked together in a restaurant, he had this little Deba, and he did most of those with it. Like, we've got this little guy. I'm going to just show it to everyone on Facebook because they can't really see what you're saying. because the screen's
Okay.
real tiny. But you know, a really small deba like this guy
Right.
here is really good for a lot of those smaller jobs. Now, this isn't a single bevel deba. Like this is a bit of a cheater, but I'm a lefty, so I like the cheater debas. But something that size is real useful for a lot of those jobs.
So I also use this Masamoto carbon.
Okay.
I think this is a 120, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But once again, I love choking up on a petty. I think a lot of times, a lot of chefs have cheese on attitude. We have to have these huge knives on our station.
Yeah.
But when I was working at the Queen's Yard, we did a whole chicken. And I used to use this, man, to just fabricate it. I didn't have to really tug so much. I can get a straight line right across that bone, and it's great.
Cool. Where are you located, man? I know you've watched a bunch of our videos.
Absolutely. Well, I'm located in Brooklyn.
Oh, cool.
I've worked in some of New York's best. I've worked at the Usual, the Metropolitan Opera House. So I've worked around.
Fun.
This is usually my night station too. Which when we do a lot of duck breast and things like that.
Yeah.
This is Ninox slicer.
Oh, that's like the one you had there, Kevin. That's this like Ninox and Susan, like they're very, very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So similar to Kevin Sweeson, I like the Masamoto KS, and this is my baby. All purpose. Once again, carbon. But
Yeah.
I'm just a carbon fan. Yes, like you said, it takes a lot of maintenance. I just shined them up.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, how do you keep them so shiny?
Well, I use the eraser.
Okay.
But I also use like a fine 200 grit. You know, when I know I'm not going to be using it a lot, and I like to keep it clean, I just use this fine 200 grit on it.
Oh yeah.
Give it a polish. And that's just for the carbon.
Yeah. Yeah. The wet dry sandpaper is really good for any of that stuff.
So I also use this. This is my Mike Tyson right here.
Okay. Oh, where
This
is
is a
mine?
Bob Kramer.
Yeah, we've got one of the Euro Damascus ones here in my shop.
They're so expensive, but I'm just a carbon fan, man.
Yeah.
I love carbon. I mean, once again, it takes a lot of maintenance, but I mean, you know, I can see the prep time. I'm looking for my what am I looking for? I'm looking for my palm pet. Yeah, I can't find it.
Ah, well,
You know what? Thanks, man. That was really cool. That was really cool coming in from New York and showing us this.
And he was selling this knob, and it broke my heart, man.
yeah, well,
This has really been hurt badly.
yeah, a lot of people are having a hard go. Well, good thing that you've still got all yours there. But thanks, dude. That's awesome.
Thank you, y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks, man.
yeah, awesome. Thanks so much. What's your name? What's your?
My real name is Ramel.
Good to meet you, Ramel. I'm Chris. If you're ever up in Ottawa.
I'm always on, Chris. I'm always on.
Yeah, well, I've seen your name a bunch, but now I'll actually know what to call you. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good to put a face to a name, dude.
Doing what you're doing, guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
All right, have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, bud. Job. Well, that's
Yeah.
kind of funny.
Yeah, that was fun. Well, I knew he was. I remember him saying he was from the States at one point. So that's cool. I've actually never been to New York, and everyone.
I was at New York once.
Really, eh? Yeah,
Once,
Maeve.
2 or 3 days.
Maeve loves that city, and I've just never made it down there. Steve Wall was supposed to move there once, but he kind of didn't work. So
Happens. I was supposed to move to Beirut once and it didn't work. You know, things happen. Assassinations happen.
yeah, yeah. But here, I've been saving this knife because, and we can argue. I will open the floor. Leave a comment with your opinion. I will happily share it.
Or is this whether this is I haven't seen these yet.
Yeah, so these are new. I don't know how long we've just got it in Ottawa last week. So there's a couple of customers who got a chance to pick it up.
Because
But-
I saw the one prototype of that
Yeah,
and I said, don't change anything.
yeah. You know what I like about it? It's thinner across the back than what I
Is it?
thought. Yeah, a little bit. It's not
Oh.
like super chunky. Like it's not like mega Nakiri big. It's like 150 Nakiri big. You know what I mean? Does that make
It's
sense, or am
cool.
I just babbling?
No, you're just both. So
Yeah.
do you know how the knife came about? So this knife here that I'm holding, this is the It's the Hanazuki
Yeah.
from Mortaka-san. And when I was out there last time, Mortaka-san, he asked me, he says, why do you sell so many Hanazukis? And I said, oh, well, they're great, right? Like they're great. Hanazukis are great. They're a great knife. And yours, I think, is probably the best we make or we sell.
Yeah.
And he just had a good laugh at that. And he said, is it a European style knife? I said, no, it's Japanese, man.
Yeah.
And he goes, no. He goes, I've never seen it before. We don't make this in Kyushu. It's not normal knife for us. And that's when I said, well, how did you make it? He goes, well, I Googled it and I looked at the shape. And I thought, oh, the shape, he says, they looked at some of that. I thought the shape of the tip was wrong because it looked too fragile. And I knew it was going to be a butcher knife. So I made it really like stronger, yet sharp. And I was like, oh my God. So he made this knife, what I think is probably the best Hanazuki going. And he made this from a picture on Google and then thinking about how the knife is to be made. Like that is skill, right? Like that's like thinking about a knife and making it happen. And that one up there, I gave him the picture from our website and said, make this. I gave him the picture.
It's slightly, you know what? I'll grab,
I
have a Kumo Kamigata and we can just look at the difference a little bit. But
Yeah, that'd
before
be
I do
great.
that, I'm going to tell everyone on Instagram, because we just had a bunch of people join. We've shifted over to I'll tell you in a sec there, BTW. We've shifted over to Facebook and Facebook and YouTube, because the audio and the picture is a little bit better. So if you want to see what Kevin is showing off and everything, you can kind of see both of us. It's knifeware.com/YouTube. And so
I've got something super fun coming up.
Oh yeah, so you should zip over. He's waving something with a bright blue handle. It looks pretty awesome. I think I know what it is. I think I've seen it before, but so these the Moritakas, this particular line is made out of Algami 2, so blue carbon steel. Okay.
But
and
the
they
great
do
thing about that line is that when they add the Ishime, it's a cold forging technique to add the Ishime texture. And what Mortaka-san said, he says his blue number 2s work like super blue steel now because of the extra forging process. It's made the core steel tougher and stronger and less likely to bend. So he says it stays sharp just as long as Algami Super. It's less likely to bend as well. So he thinks it's an improvement on the process. I think he should do that to our Algami Super knives as well. So
we'll see if
we can't get some of those in soon.
Oh, that would be cool.
What if Algami Super is just better? What if they just, oh my God, it's a lot bigger. What if it's just better? It'd be awesome. I knew it was bigger because I had it in my hand, the prototype of that one. But I told him, don't change anything. I think it's great.
Well, I think the only thing that's ever really stopped me from buying a Kamigata for myself is that my hand takes up most of it. This knife is perfect for my mom. I got big fat fingers. If I pinch a knife, a lot of it goes away. So I usually use I use a 240 instead of a 210. I always use a 270 for a slicer because I can count on an inch of the knife getting taken up just by my hand. But this is a Kamigata built for Chris. Sean and Megan have both been fighting over this knife.
How many of those did we get in? Because I think we got 4, maybe 4 or 6.
Yeah, there wasn't. I think there was kind of one for every store. I'll take a look. I can figure it out pretty quick.
Well, I know some of them. I know some of them were pre-ordered already too.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think we have to get our numbers right on that. I think we might be too light on our numbers or for our ordering. So if you want one now, grab it right now because I don't know. They're not going to come in for the 2 months.
Yeah. So it's $251.
There's a cameo appearance behind me. Did you see that?
No, I missed it. Oh, Owen says they have one in Vancouver. We have one here. It's $251. So it says Edmonton has it. It says everywhere but the Calgary Farmers Market has one. Mason's Apartment apparently has limited quantities, according to the website. So
Mason's Apartment has one.
Yeah.
And he's going to take a photo.
Yeah. So yeah, if you look on the website, there's no photo yet, but it's 130 millimeters. It's $251. It's Algami number 2. It's an amazing knife.
It's an interesting petty. I'm just showing this off. We after 10 years of working with the people at Knife Village in Takafue, After 10 years of building business and working with them, we had a big party. So we had a Knifeware Takafu party.
I saw
And
pictures.
yeah, I got lifted around on a chair.
Mm.
I don't know what happened.
How
I
many
had a good
blacksmiths
time.
does it take to lift a Kevin?
A whole lot of them.
A whole room of them.
I'm bigger than your average blacksmith.
Yeah.
And Takamura-san gave me this present. Or yeah, Takamura.
Okay.
So
I
it's
know what it is. I have seen
lacquer.
this knife.
It's handmade lacquer. So this is hand painted lacquer, handmade saya from the pin as well, and the saya. And it's a blue, this kind of weird, awesome Korean handle that should be more or less indestructible, with this really rad SG2 powder steel. Don't look at the tip. I broke the tip off, so I can't show you that. Look at that. Broke the tip off right there. It's not pointy anymore. Sometimes I do stupid things with my knives.
Yeah, me too. But you know what? That's a good point. I kind of want
love
to, like,
this
I'm not gonna shame Kevin here, but this is good for everybody else to hear. Is that if you come into our store, you do not need to be embarrassed because something happened to your knife. Because if anybody,
for sure, we've done something stupid
if
too.
anybody should know better, it's him, that guy, or me. I should know better. I've done it. I found my
we met,
Mugen
Chris.
stuck
We
in the
met
floor
because
the
I
other day.
fixed. We met because I fixed your knife.
Yeah, my Deba fell off. Well, it wasn't my fault. It was Ivan Geddes' fault of Union Local 613.
Was that
So he
Ivan's fault?
That was Ivan's fault. He knocked my Deba off of the magnet
Do you know?
and it hit the floor and like practically exploded.
I used to like Ivan.
Yeah. Ivan's a knife abuser. Did you know that I bought, this is like, I'm not being catty. It's not really about Ivan anymore. But I had this Misono UX10 that I hated.
I was going to say, which one? What shape did you have?
It was a Gyuto. It was a 210 Gyuto. I bought it online because the chef I was working for told me that those were the best knives he had ever used. He loved them. And I bought it online. Yeah. I bought it online, sight unseen, took my boss's recommendation. Turns out when you're a lot bigger than somebody else, your hands probably are too. So me using that knife during service was this. Just punching a cutting board all day. So that day when I met you, Kevin, and I bought those Moritakas, I gave Ivan that Misono. I was like, just take it. Just take it. Chop all your ginger for your weird soda syrups. Go for it. It's yours now. I don't want it. And he's like, well, don't you need one? I'm like, no, you just bought me 2 new knives. So thank you.
Well, that was nice of him.
Yeah, that's what happens when you give Chris Lord a company credit card and it has his name on it. I don't do that with the one you gave me. It doesn't have my name on it.
I was going to say, what the fuck? I mean, what the bananas?
Yeah, Minority Report, that's what he uses that Bob Kramer for. Yeah, those Kramers they're nice and tall. They're good for that. So
anyway, listen, now's a great time if you have any questions to ask, because this is Japanese Knife 101, and it's interactive. You ask a question, we answer a question.
Yeah.
It doesn't even
today's been really good.
Right? If it's about really petties, that's great, but if it's not, that's cool too. And if anyone wants to know, Calgary's still up 2-0 over Dallas.
Still 2-0 over Dallas in the hockey game.
That's the Calgary Flames versus the Dallas Green team.
The Dallas Green team versus the Calgary Fire team.
Yes, the Calgary Fire team. Not to be confused with the Toronto team or the Edmonton team, which are hosting the playoffs this year, but both bowed out before the playoffs actually started.
Hey, but you know what? This has probably been said on like sports radio or something, but at least they'll get to watch. They'll get to
that's nice, right?
They can buy tickets.
Home. They can just go home, go home and watch it on the TV.
Jeevan says Raptors beat the Bucks last night. That's all that matters. What's that, like lacrosse or something, Jeevan? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Raptors is a lacrosse team, and the Bucks are the Canna Bucks. I think that's a baseball team.
Yeah, they're not even playing the same sport, Jeevan. I don't know what you're talking about.
Jeevan,
you're talking to the wrong guy.
Jeevan makes rock videos.
Yeah. So, Single Dad Chef, cool. He's back. Haven't seen him in a while. Maybe he was here last week. I don't know. I wasn't here.
All right, well, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Jeevan said it's a Punjabi cricket team. I have been
Well,
put
there
in my
we go.
place. Sorry, Jeevan.
There we go. I got a question for you.
Yeah,
What's your top 4 petties right now?
top 4 petties.
Size, shape, maker, steel. Who makes your, like, if you had to go buy 4 petties today to replace 4 petties, what would you buy?
Okay, that's because that changes things because I can't buy one of my petties anymore. So I would buy.
You and I have matching ones on that.
Yeah, the one I'm talking about is the Mugen, but can't get those anymore. But here, I do know what I would buy. My top 4. See, because I also think earlier Kevin and I were talking about. I've disappeared, but you can still hear me. We were talking about petties being a little more robust because people tend to abuse them. But I find that I'm always more gentle on a petty knife because it's not. I often will say it's not a knife that sees a lot of kind of knife on board trauma, if that makes any sense. A petty knife's not the kind of board that you smash into a cutting board. You shouldn't do that with any, but I'll be honest, like I definitely do that with like my 240 Gutos. Like I got a lot to chop and I'm doing it fast. Like that's what I use, right?
Side question, how many 240 Gutos do you have?
4 or 5. 6
I
if we
think
count
I'm-
knives I
I-
didn't buy at Knifeware.
I think I'm into the dozen department.
Yeah.
It's reasonable. It's my default knife.
So when I'm picking petties, I go for stuff made out of like much harder steel. Like much harder steel, much thinner knives, because I know I'm not going to be that hard on them. BTW says a vintage Takeda. I can't replace one of my knives with a vintage Takeda. Unless I'm like
If
going,
you're
like I don't
trying
have one
to
in the store. I can't show
buy
you that.
them.
Come on, you're not.
I can show you my old Takeda. It's got rust
Yeah.
all over it. It's bound by
Oh, no.
Takeda with rust all over
no.
it.
And then,
Now tonight and I are going to fix the rusty knives on Friday, right here,
oh,
live.
okay.
We're going to show how terrible my knives are.
Okay.
They're bad.
So I've got 3 so far. 3 so far, and I'm going to answer Single Dad Chef really quickly about sharpening. Single Dad Chef is asking, so for VG10 steel, will a knife take on sharpness beyond 8,000 grit, or are the higher grits past 8,000 only useful for Aogami? You can sharpen any knife on any stone you want. It'll get sharper the more you go.
It will get sillier and smoother, but it won't keep that insane edge quite as long. That insaneness goes away pretty quick.
Yeah. So what Kevin just said there, Single Dad Chef, because you can't hear him because he's in the headphones, is that it'll keep getting sharper and smoother and crazier. But when you get into those ultra fine edges, they don't stick around for very long. Okay. So if you're like, take a VG10 knife, you go up to like a 12,000 grit, or we've got like the Shapton, like 30,000 grits now. You could sharpen a knife up to that and like, you know, split an atom with it, but you probably got to sharpen it again after.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
Ray.
man, is it sharp for that very small moment.
Yeah.
And if you're cutting sushi, let's say, it's brilliant.
Yeah. So my top 3 currently, I've got a Denka 150. I like bigger knives. So he asked me what I want. So I'm just, you know, this isn't about you guys, it's about me. So Denka 150, right? Aogami Super, stainless steel jacket, stupid sharp. Fujiwara is a badass, and he verbally harassed me when I was in Japan.
He did.
Yep. So I did, Kevin, I did a video. I filmed it on the weekend, like kind of like the This Is Fujiwara, like little, you'll see it on YouTube eventually, everyone, but like kind of, and at the end I said, and if you ever want to hear the story about why Fujiwara calls me Pink Lady, you'll have to come into the store. So I'm not going to tell it right now. Here's my second choice is the Yokuma SRS 15 from Haruyuki. So stainless steel.
Really? And the Western handle, not the Japanese handle?
It's weird. I like Western handles on petties, usually.
That's interesting.
Because most of my other knives, well, you know, are wah handled. But I like, I don't know, there's something about them. Makes me feel like I'm in culinary school again or something. I don't know. Don't have an answer.
There's my handle. There's my other petty.
Yeah.
Apparently I like antler handles.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've got 2 with wall handle.
I don't know how to say this properly, so I've just been calling this person BTW. But when we were talking about sharpening, they chimed in on Instagram saying it's also about tooth, single
Yeah.
dad chef, which is true. If you leave a bit of teeth to your knife, they'll bite into things. That's like if your knife was mostly for slicing tomatoes. I find like that kind of 3,000, 4,000 is as high as I really go if that's my goal. Because you want a little bit of tooth so it'll bite in. But here's an interesting one, Kevin, because we haven't talked about Small Makers Month at all yet.
Well, that's stupid. My nephew has that knife as well. He's 14. He worked at a garden center, not a garden center, a roadside fruit stand, and made enough money, saved up the money to buy that Kobayashi at the top.
Yeah. So this is made by a fella named Kai Kobayashi. Kevin met him, it was a couple of years ago, eh? But so
We were
all of
actually
August,
it was October.
was it just October?
It was October.
Oh, well, we
were
had
hiding-
a couple
we were
of
hiding
his
from a
knives.
typhoon. Yeah, we had some. Of
We
his
had
knives
a couple of his knives before, but
Yeah.
So Small Makers Month is something, and you know what, Kevin might be able to do better justice than I, but there's a lot of really cool blacksmiths out there, and not all of them. It's like when I worked in a restaurant. You know, you meet a farmer and they grow a hot pepper, right? But they've only got one plant of a certain hot pepper, and you want to make a sauce out of it. But the thing is, and like, you know, Don would know this, he's made big batches of sauces and stuff. So you want to make an Acorn Creek hot sauce. Well, if Acorn Creek only grows 4 pounds of peppers, that's not enough, right? So it's kind of like that with us, with some blacksmiths. There's some really cool blacksmiths out there who make really awesome stuff, but we can't keep their stuff stocked all year round because they don't make enough. And we'd love to, but it's not possible. So a lot of those blacksmiths, we would only introduce them during garage sale. But we kind of had the idea this year to like, well, let's make more of it. And this is something I think we're going to continue doing, but like, let's really put the focus on these guys. So like my store, for instance, I have one case right now. I've kind of messed everything up, but I got one case that is just Small Makers. So if you're in the Ottawa area and you want to come in, I think the other stores might've done this too. I couldn't have come up with this idea on my own. But if you come into the shop, I can just show you this one case. Naoto has been interviewing these guys live on Facebook and Instagram.
Did you
There was one.
catch the interview last night?
I watched a bit of it. I had it on in the store today, but we got a little too busy. I couldn't really pay attention. But it was the fellas from
Super
Sakai
interesting.
Kikimori.
Super
Yeah.
interesting.
So they're currently on the YouTube channel if you want to revisit them. I know Jeevan, who was harassing me about cricket, he is going to be cutting them down. So it's just more of the it's more of the fact, and we're going to subtitle it all. A lot of really cool stuff, you know, like Manaka-san. This is a young guy. Like he can't, he's like self-taught, working with this is a type of steel I had never heard of before. It's like ATK 43 or something.
They use it for hunting knives.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
And it's
now.
really, it's
So
supposed
that
to be
would tell
super-
me that it's durable, easy to
It's
take
super
care of.
stable. Yeah, it's supposed to be super stable.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he does all of his own forge welding in house. You know how much extra time that takes? Like Fujiwara does that, but like Fujiwara does it, Moritaka does it. ATS 34. Thank you, BW.
There we go.
Hinora. Yeah. So yeah,
That's about it, right?
yeah. And this is a young
Kagura,
guy
but
just-
he's retired.
Yep. So this is something that really just like the top tier, like you can make a great knife without doing that. Don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit of an extra, like bit of a flex, right? Like, oh, you buy your steel.
Well, not only that, but it also
you know?
makes your steel perform better than the others.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you hit it more, you compress the molecules close, like basically make the steel denser and tougher and harder.
Yeah.
So the more you hit it, the better it gets. So his knives
Mhm.
should perform better than other knife makers made out of the same knife or made out of the same steel.
Oh, Nathan threw out that for us, the ATS 34. Nathan knows because Nathan's the one who writes the emails.
Nathan Garrow knows, but Nathan Garrow can't tell you that right now.
No,
Hey, do you have those electric rental scooters at in Ottawa?
they've just showed up about a month ago.
We had them last
Yeah.
summer, and then we got them again this summer. And Nathan decided to
I remember them last summer.
maybe accidentally have a drink or two.
Mhm.
and then maybe accidentally get on a scooter, and then maybe accidentally crash into the back of a car, and accidentally break his jaw and break all his teeth. He looks like a
Yeah,
hockey
what a
player.
guy.
But a jaw.
Yeah, he does.
He's got his jaw wired shut.
You know what I told Nathan he looked like the other day? I told Nathan he looked like the bad version of himself that gets pulled through the mirror. You know, like the evil version. So, but
He's
yeah,
the
so
evil twin.
yeah, he's his own evil twin. He's even got except his mustache doesn't curl now. Now it's like droopy like mine. That's how you know he's the evil version. Oh, Minority Report has a good question. Yeah, shoot, man. I'll get to it. Oh, he says he's got hillbilly teeth now. Yeah, about that. So I'm gonna let Minority Report type out his question. But yeah, so Small Makers Month. There's like, there's Kobayashi, there's Manaka-san. We've got some stuff from Sakai Kikumori. This is hard because this is all like new stuff. Oh, he has a hard time sharpening a fillet knife. Oh, you know what? The best way, because they bend so
Because
much,
they're blendy.
is do less of it at a time. Like just focus on like, that much, like an inch at a time. Don't try to do it in big strokes because the whole thing will wobble all over and you won't get the right contact on the stone. Yeah, less at a time. So yeah, Small Makers Month is like, so we've got a good buddy who's tunes into all these videos. His name is Derek. Derek grabbed, I'm pretty jealous. This isn't a petty, but I really like this knife. This is one of those, this is a white carbon steel knife from Manaka. It's just gorgeous.
I want that one.
And so since Naoto told me about something that Manaka does that other people don't do, I can't help but show it off all the time. Apparently what he does is a lot of people will do more shaping on the hammer, right? Like they'll leave the spine thicker and then bring it in towards the edge. But what he does is he leaves it kind of fat, like he kind of thins it out and leaves the middle and edge kind of fat. So when he grinds it out, you're left, I don't know how well you can see it on here. Oh, you can see it well enough.
It's a diamond shape.
You're left with a diamond shape. So when people come in and they're always asked, I answered this question for someone today, and it's not that I expect people to know, but they ask about, if it's like, does the hammered appearance, like will food fall away from it more easily? A little bit, but not like a huge amount. Like I would say like a knife with a Tsuchime finish versus a mirror finish, you'd notice a big difference. But like if you had like something with just like a Kasumi finish, like a foggy or like a Nishiji like this, like a small amount of texture versus a lot of texture is less of a noticeable difference. But if you cut through a potato with that, you wouldn't help but feel it. Like the food would have to fall off just because of the geometry. I'm really excited to see because Derek and I chat quite a bit outside of work as well. So I'm really excited to see what he thinks about it.
I want one.
Yeah, no, they look beautiful. So, and then Kevin earlier asked me, well, you do. Kevin asked me what my 4 top petties were. And I said, a Denka. I said the Kobayashi SG2. I said the SRS 15. And then I probably got to go with something made by Masashi. Probably a Kuroshu because they kind of fit me. They got the right look. I'll get one.
You love Kuroshus.
I do.
I get it. By the way, hockey update. It was 2-0 Calgary. It was 2-0 Calgary. Then it was 2-1. And next shot, it was 2-2.
Oh, no.
Calgary decided to fall apart in about 20 seconds of bad play and lost 2 goals against in about 20 seconds of bad play.
Tied up. We've only got 2 minutes left on Instagram. 2 minutes left on Instagram, and hockey's tied up. So we're going to keep doing this. This is something like, Kevin and I on Tuesdays, we're going to do Japanese Knife 101. We are trying to make the shift over to Facebook and YouTube because it does provide, it's a better platform. The audio's better, the visual's better. So we'll keep putting it up for the meantime up on Instagram like this, but it is you get a lot more information if you just head over to YouTube. And it's easy. It's just knifeware.com/YouTube, and that'll get you right there. And while you're at knifeware.com, you can look at all kinds of fun stuff and ask us lots of questions. And, there's a little button down in the bottom right for the help desk. There's someone working on that kind of all hours while the shop's open. So we'll get right back to you as quick as we can. If you need something, this is just more for those on Instagram who are about to get the boot. But, hello@knifeware.com. If you have any other questions, you can always tune in on Tuesdays. Kevin and I are doing this AMA. We have a lot of fun doing it, so it doesn't look like we're not going to stop doing it anytime soon.
Nobody's asking questions today. So
yeah, we had a lot of questions in the beginning and now fewer.
So if the questions are out, maybe it's time to roll it up. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure now that we've threatened to go away, some people will ask some questions. That's usually what happens. So I'm going to turn off Instagram now. Thanks for those of you who stuck around. Thanks for joining us today, Minority Report Eatery. It was fun to finally put a face and a name together. So, thanks for all the support. I'm more than happy to keep doing this for you guys. So we'll talk to you soon.
And just because it's a video meeting, you have to have a cat in it. Apparently.
Oh, you've got to have. It's not. Did you know that Zoom doesn't work if you don't get a cat in there?
It has to have a cat cameo. Yeah.
Yeah. So
there you go. I got my cat cameo.
Make sure I didn't miss any on YouTube here. No. Well, Peter said earlier that Peter Brown said, because someone said, what's a thin petty good for? And he said peeling peaches for desserts.
Peeling peaches for dessert.
That is a very finicky job.
Yeah. You could just give them like the 3-second blanch in hot water and just do this and pull the skin off. But, peeling peaches.
Yeah. But any of those jobs, peeling an orange. Yeah, I haven't peeled a peach in do you know I've got 3 kids at home. All 3 of them are picky, but in different ends of the spectrum. So I've got one, if it's not fancy enough, she doesn't want to eat it. And I've got 2 that if it's too fancy, they won't. So I fed a peach to my youngest kid, and I had to threaten to take TV away for the rest of her life to get her to eat it. And she wouldn't even admit it was good after.
A peach? It's one of the best foods in the world.
And it was so sweet. And it's August right now, so they're amazing. And yeah, she wouldn't eat it.
That's bananas.
Yeah. No, it's a peach. It wasn't a banana.
That's bananas.
That was my dad joke. Usually it's you squeaking those in.
Oh, I got a dad joke book here.
Don't get it. No, Kevin, we're going to turn it off. No one will ever buy a knife again if you start with the dad jokes.
Really?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm sorry.
Why was the skeleton so calm?
Oh, you didn't even care.
Nothing got under his skin.
All right. Well, I guess that's it, folks. We're wrapping it up. No one asked any questions. Oh, Gabriel said, okay. Don Penny said, Tom is one of the best petties. How come you didn't say that, Kevin?
Tom is a terrible petty currently.
Yeah, he's not doing a great job, is he?
He kind of did like the prince. Hey, listen, Chris, what do you think of your job at the prison library? It has its pros and cons.
All right. I'm going to talk over Kevin for a moment while he finds the next dad joke. So yeah, keep an eye on, I'm not too sure. If you look on social media, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, I know Naoto is working on nailing down another interview with one of the small makers. A couple of them have been a little bit squirrely. They've been a little hard for us to get. But the one with Manaka and the one from, I can't remember his name, but the gentleman from Sakai Kikumori, they're both on Instagram or both on YouTube right now and Facebook. So whatever you're currently watching on, you just got to scroll back a little bit and then you'll find it. Really, really interesting because he talks about they talk about, well, what's special about what you do? What do you do differently from everyone else? How did you learn? There's definitely some cool backstory and some cool technical stuff. But then it's what do you like to eat? What do you do? They're real people who are really good at what they do. So
yeah.
And Japan is nothing like where we're from, or at least where I'm from. So anything that kind of pulls the curtain back on that wild and crazy place is a lot of fun for me. So
Chris, do you know much about Switzerland?
I know very little about Switzerland. I know that they speak. What do I know about Switzerland? I know it's landlocked. I know that they speak French, German, Italian, and like a weird Swiss language there.
Yeah.
And I know that if
The
you
cheese
make
has
potatoes
holes.
roasty, if you make potato roasty and put ham and fried eggs on top, it's called Swiss breakfast. That's all I know about
I
Switzerland.
have that. You know, I don't know much either. I don't know much either, but their flag's a big plus.
Oh shit. I thought you were trying to, I thought that was a segue into what you know more about Japan. You fooled me. You and your book.
Their flag's a big plus.
That's probably the most you've gotten out of a Christmas gift, I think. That's been
The best joke I've ever. It's
Chasing me
the
for a
best
few
book
months.
I've ever read.
yeah.
Best book I ever read.
So
How did they get a confession, Chris? How did they get a confession out of the hamburger patty?
what?
They grilled him.
Okay, you're done. Put the book down. We gotta work.
Did you just fire me?
I think we did, yeah. Although you know what? There's more people watching now that you started with the dad jokes. So
The dad jokes is good.
yeah. Well, I don't think it doesn't seem like anyone has any questions. So you've got until I get my spiel done. So
Okay.
the TV schedule for this week, I'm doing Cut Like a Chef tomorrow at the same time.
Yep.
Now they just wrote down Cut Like a Chef Classic on the schedule. So that means a bunch of veggies. But if anybody has anything in particular they'd like to see that I can find at the grocery store, I don't know what that meant.
Hockey game 3-2 for the Flames.
Flames 3-2.
Oh my God, it's 3-2. Rasmus
So-
Anderson, nobody helped him. Just saying.
If you would like to see something in particular, I welcome it. I encourage it. Send me an email to chris@knifeware.com. Okay. And I will, if I can find it at the grocery store, if there's a vegetable that's been giving you a hard time, or you want to see something in particular, by all means ask. And it's nothing for me. If you want to do a julienne's, it's nothing for me to go and get the right thing to do it. If you don't know how to peel ginger, you want to know how, you want to supreme an orange, don't be shy. Ask me, chris@knifeware.com. Easy.
Can you flute a mushroom?
I can't flute a mushroom, but I will Zoom. You can just add people in. So I'll just get you to do it.
Okay. Well, there we go. See, that's good.
There we go.
Friday, Nelson and I are going to be talking about advanced sharpening classes,
Yep.
but we're going to look into something that's a bit embarrassing for me. I've got a
Okay.
couple of knives. I've got actually 4 knives I found that I had in storage that have rusted just from ambient moisture in the air,
That happens.
and they're
here.
and they're very rusty. So it's really embarrassing for me that I've got 4 knives that are very, very rusty right now, and it's because of improper storage. I should have put camellia oil on them, which we sell, and I should have wrapped them in newspaper.
Yeah.
It's that easy. And I did it. I just had them in a blade guard and they've got rusted. So we're going to take the rust off the blades, but we're also going to talk about how to avoid that problem. And I think it's important to let you know that, yeah, your knife might rust. It happens. My knives, I have 4 and they're not rusty. Like, oh, there's a bit of rust on it. They're like 2 of them look like they were under the ocean. They look like they hauled them out of the Titanic. It's an absolute embarrassment. So I think it's important for people to see that, yeah, it happens to the best of us. Like, I know better, and it still happened to me. So we're gonna clean those up on Friday, and I think that'll be an interesting class because there's a lot of different ways you can clean rust up, and then how to make it look pretty after that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah, I think it's so important for people to know that, just because something happened doesn't make you bad, It just happens. Sometimes shit happens.
It just happens. Yeah, shit happens.
So yeah, we're gonna keep at this. Just kind of tune in every Tuesday if you like. Come with some questions. We try to switch it up. If there's anything you want to see in particular, by all means, my inbox is always open.
What are we going to talk about next?
Chris@knifeware.com.
What are we going to talk about next
I
week?
don't know. We didn't have this figured out till yesterday, so. But I don't think anyone can tell.
I want to talk about Petty's though. Maybe we should talk about how many 210, 240, 270, 300, and 360 Gyutos you should have.
We could.
What's the appropriate number of, what's the appropriate number of Petties? I grabbed a few. I've got 9 in front of me here.
And you're at home. See, I'm in the store. Like that, I'm
Yeah.
grabbing stuff out of cases. Because what do I have? I've got the Mugen and the Moritaka, and I've got a Takeda, and I've got
You got a Takeda Petty.
the Kogatana. I bought one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's really good for the hard cheeses. You know, like when you like cut like that real, you know that Gouda I like, that really old Gouda from Alberta that I really like.
I'm gonna bring Sylvan Star, the Grizzly.
Yeah.
I'll bring you some.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll-
When you
I'll
cut that.
I should mail you some.
Oh yeah, sure.
I should do that.
I would take it. I love that stuff.
I should mail you some. I'll do that.
But yeah, no, that knife is really good for those hard cheeses because it breaks it out. Like it's like when you eat a cheese like that, like a really hard, kind of salty, older cheese, you don't want to eat like a nice little slice. Like it's not like a piece of Kraft cheddar. Like you want to eat, like you want it to break apart. And the knife just does it perfectly for me. Same thing with parm. I eat parm. Like I don't just put it on stuff. I just like to snack on it. It's probably because I
like
hang out near
crunchy.
Nicastros and
I like the crunchy salt in it.
oh, Deftonius. Who is that? That's Sean, I think. Is he home already? No way. Is that you, Sean? Sean, are you Deftonius? There's no way. You drove so fast.
He speeded.
You-
Did he?
Yeah, I'm going to get the knife. He mentioned the 270 Kirit Moritaka.
How many of those should you have in your collection, do you think? How many 270 millimeter Gyutos? And for our American friends, that's like what? How many inches is that? 270 is like 11 inches or 12
Yeah, it's like
inches?
a 12
11?
inch knife. I got a
Probably
ruler.
11. It's probably 11 inches.
Yeah, 11 on the nose. Yep.
There we go.
That's the knife that was just mentioned.
It's a good petty
Yeah.
knife.
That has, yeah, you know, all you got to do is whoop. Yeah, that was Sean. You drove too fast, Sean. That's not safe. Oh, Kyle has a Manaka-san 150 ATS 34. He calls it the thick boy. You know
He's
what
got
they
a
are?
thick boy.
They got some chunk to them. And I don't know that one, a 150 Ito Sai Moto C. I don't know that one. I know lots about what we got and a little bit about other stuff.
Yeah.
Not a lot of brain to work with. I gotta focus, you know?
But you're good looking. That's it's hard to be good looking and smart.
Oh, Ito Sai Kotensu. I'll have to look that up, Kyle. Don't know that one. Yeah, autocorrect is terrible when you're talking about knives.
Oh my God, it just makes everything
Yeah.
terrible.
So cool. Well, why don't we say, I think maybe that's it for today. But, you know, hopefully we'll see most of you back here next week. And, you know, just keep an eye on the website, knifeware.com. Keep an eye on social media.
Does anybody have a topic they want us to talk about next week? Because if not, I might say we should talk about how about Western handle versus Japanese handle?
Why don't we just leave it at that? Unless someone either right now spits out a really cool idea or emails me one, next week is going to be about Western versus Japanese handles. I think that's fair. I think that's
Yeah.
fair. I think that's good because that's something that a lot of people ask about.
Yeah, so I think we should talk about that because I've got funny ideas about it as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's all because literally it is all about preference. It is all about preference.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be interesting. I'd like to know where you sit on that. I think you and I might agree a lot on these things too.
Yep. Yeah. I waffle back and forth sometimes. Sometimes a knife's just perfect and it might be against what you think. But that happens sometimes too. Sometimes they'd look funny. They'd look funny if you put on a different type of handle.
Yep.
Like I think if like I think Fujiwara falls into that. You know, if you put,
Yeah,
like I have
but-
a Japanese handled Fujiwara.
You and I
And
both.
I like
but
that
not
one.
one.
Yep. I like that knife a lot.
I rarely use mine. I don't like it.
Yeah, I like my. I don't have another one to choose from. I don't have more than one Denke, Kevin. I just got the one.
Yeah, well. Yeah, well.
So
There's that.
cool.
All right.
Thanks,
Well, thanks,
everybody.
Chris. It was fun to see you, and thanks for everybody for tuning in.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. We will talk to you soon. keep an eye on what we're up to. And yeah, don't forget chris@knifeware.com if you got any ideas or requests. I'm happy to make adjustments. So we'll talk to you then.